Today we will go through this mysterious story together to find out how a normal day can become the end of everything you used to know until now. So what happened on that Thursday afternoon? It was just another day. Everyone in Colorado or the US have started their day as they usually do. Somebody probably went to work that day. Somebody may have come back from work and gone back to sleep because they usually work at night. And somebody could be working from home, be on vacation, or be retired. But at last it was just a typical day. Stanley Politano, for example, was certainly at work, as he has been for the last 2 decades of his life. So was Doyle Harrison on that day. After their regular day at work, they were trying to get home using their usual route, Interstate 70 in Lakewood. However, they were stuck in the traffic because of a school bus accident that happened in the region. Rogel, a truck driver, was on the road that day, and he was trying to deliver a load of lumber through the Colorado mountain roads while crossing the same interstate at Lakewood. We don't know much about what Miguel Arellano and Bill Bailey were doing that day, but they ended up in the same traffic as Stanley and Doyle around 4:30 p.m. We know that they all had an ordinary day without any thought about how much time they had in front of them. Because why would they? Why should anyone even think about this when we are so convinced we have so much time ahead of us? Because tomorrow is uncertain. Everyone I mentioned above still needed to learn that April 25th, 2019 would be their last regular day, or their last day in general. So what happened on that April afternoon? Everything started on that highway in Lakewood near Mills Mall. They were all strangers, traveling in separate cars along Interstate 70 highway. Our truck driver, Rogel, was trying to deliver his lumber load. He was going downhill a mountain stretch, passing the Genesee exit 254. Suddenly, he lost control of his truck as he was passing a runway truck ramp. Instead of taking the runway ramp, he drifted into the left lane, nearly clipping a white Chevy Silverado, and passed the next exit as well. The truck's speed started to get bigger, and Rogel could not stop the car while going down. He was trying to do everything possible to stop the truck and avoid the traffic. His 18-wheeler semi-truck with high speed and no control plowed into the stopped traffic, causing a significant pileup of 24 cars and 4 semi-trailers. The lumber from Rogel's semi-trailer combined with the gasoline from the smashed cars and the mattresses carried by a Beauty Rest semi-trailer truck created quick fuel for the fire to ignite. There were 4 people killed: our Stanley Politano, Doyle Harrison, Miguel Arellano, and Bill Bailey, and 6 others got hospitalized. The first call went to the Lakewood emergency officials around 4:50 p.m., and since then, the investigation has started. Why was the driver out of control? Was he drunk? Was he high on drugs? This is what the police were trying to figure out at that time. The answer to all of those questions was no. He wasn't drunk or on drugs, and he had no criminal record before. He just couldn't control his truck.
Were you in gear at the time you pulled the emergency brake?
No, estaba en neutro.
What gear were you trying to get into?
Cualquiera que entrara, que parara el camión.
Rogel Aguilera Mederos, 23 years old at the time, testified that his brakes stopped working while he went downhill the mountain stretch across Interstate 70. It's up to the judge now to identify who's at fault for this tragic event. So we will slowly dive into the trial process to ensure that all the details and stories are honored. The most important stories to honor are the ones of our victims and their families. 4 people died in this crash, instantly, without ever suspecting that something like this could even be close to happening to them. Stanley Politano was a 69 years old from Arvada, with 2 sons and a wife, Kathy Politano. He was an ordinary man who loved his family and was loved by them. Then we have Doyle Harrison, a 61 years old man from Hudson, with 3 kids and a wife, Kathleen Harrison. Sadly, he left behind his wonderful family and job where he had been working since 1987. William Bailey was a 67 years old from Arvada. His brother Doyle Bailey and wife Gage Evans suffered extremely when they lost their beloved Bill. And the youngest victim was Miguel Angel Llamas Arellano. He was only 24 years old and he was born in Denver. He was described by his family as a happy, humble person with good intentions. Sadly, this was the sad reality for all of them. Many witnesses in the trial room recalled a near-death experience when they testified about the crash. While Rogel said he was not happy he survived that day.
I would have preferred God taking me instead of that, because this is no life. And I'm alive. This is no life. Why am I alive for what?
After all the proof, stories, and views were laid out in the courtroom, the judge had to voice his sentence. 4 counts of vehicular homicide, 6 counts of first-degree assault, 10 counts of attempted first-degree assault, 4 counts of careless driver causing death, 2 counts of vehicular assault, and 1 count of reckless driving. The jury did not want to give Aguilera a sentence longer than 20 or 30 years in jail.
We will likely be recommending a sentence of between 20 to 30 years when the court is ready to go to that hearing.
But he was bound to the rules of the Colorado state, where all the counts had to be served consecutively. So Aguilera Mederos got sentenced to 110 years behind bars. People were enraged. They disagreed with the sentence given to Aguilera. Even the victims and the prosecution thought that 110 years for this crime was too much. Heather Gilby took it upon herself to obtain justice for the truck driver and get him a smaller sentence. So she created an online petition saying why Aguilera doesn't deserve the sentence he got.
It's a petition on change.org. You can see here on your screen, 4.3 million people have signed it to offer commutation as time served or grant clemency to Rogel Aguilera Mederos.
5 million people signed this petition. Dozens of videos were posted on TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter, reportedly showing lines of trucks whose drivers were boycotting entering the Colorado state, using hashtags like "No Trucks to Colorado" or "Justice for Rogel."
It's unbelievable, honestly, because it could happen anytime, anywhere. And if the brakes fail, the brakes fail. It's a malfunction.
If you drive one of these like we do, I need to talk to you.
The sentencing spurring truckers across the country to protest moving goods to and from the state using the hashtag "No Trucks to Colorado."
Even Kim Kardashian got involved. She tagged the governor of Colorado in social media with the hopes that he will do the right thing. And Governor Polis acted. The move by Polis came out when the state district attorney asked a judge on Monday to consider reducing Aguilera Mederos' sentence following the public outcry. And Polis did just that. He commuted Rogel's sentence to 10 years and granted him parole eligibility on December 30th, 2026.
After learning about the highly atypical and unjust sentence in your case, I am commuting your sentence to 10 years and granting you parole eligibility on December 30th of 2026.
The governor of Colorado used his authority to dramatically reduce that sentence to 10 years. That's down from 110.
I believe you deserve clemency for several reasons. You were sentenced to 110 years in prison, effectively more than a life sentence for a tragic but unintentional act. While you are not blameless, your sentence is disproportionate compared with many other inmates in our criminal justice system who committed intentional, premeditated, and violent crimes. Most people even blamed the trucking company, although not much was heard about them until now. Doyle Bailey and Gage Evans didn't agree with the public though. They said that the weeks of a trial and clemency were as painful for them as the first day that Bill died. But the voices of the people have spoken. Is Rogel the only one who should be punished though? What about the company? I mean, the brakes failed, which seems like a maintenance problem, doesn't it? Well, the company just dissolved in time. Castellano-O'Free Trucking LLC is the company that employed Rogel Aguilera Mederos 2 weeks before the crash happened. The owner of the company was Yaimi Galan Segura, who didn't know much about trucking. She admitted this in her deposition after the crash. She also said that she had a neighbor that owned a small trucking company and was doing well. So with the help of some friends and internet research, she decided to open her own company. She bought 5 trucks and hired 5 drivers, but her lack of knowledge did get her in trouble a few times. According to records from FMCSA, 30 violations were reported out of 19 inspections within 2 years. 3 trucks were put out of business just around the time of the crash. 10 of the violations were brake-related, with counts like brake hose, tubing, chafing or kinking, clamp or roto-type brake out-of-adjustment system that fails to compensate for wear. The rap sheet also includes 2 citations to its driver's ability to speak English. The driver cannot read or speak English sufficiently to respond to official inquiries. Drivers must be able to understand highway traffic signs signals in the English language. So it's not only Rogel Aguilera who should be punished here. Yes, he should have known that as well and not drive until he is 100% sure he can properly deal with unforeseen situation, which he couldn't. But the company had multiple maintenance issues and they shouldn't have allowed Rogel to drive that road or employ him at all if he's not following all the necessary conditions. And that is not the worst part. Public records revealed that the owner of a trucking company involved in the I-70 crash is connected to a newer company that was registered the day after the crash. The newer company, Volt Trucking, also has a history of violations involving brakes and brake connections according to the online Federal Transportation. Both companies, Volt Trucking LLC and Castellano-O'Free LLC, were registered to the same home address. Wait, it gets worse. 9 News found 23 violations connected to Volt Trucking, including incooperative and defective brakes and brake connections with leaks and constrictions. Also, they had violations about their drivers not being able to adequately speak and read English. So not only was the company not properly penalized, but it also continues to make the same mistakes. We are not juries, attorneys, victims, and maybe not even a neutral party, since we are related to the trucking industry, to decide who is guilty and who is not. Both Rogel, who was not prepared, and the company who did horrible mistakes are at fault. But we want to make sure that mistakes like that are never to happen again. MC owners, please take a course or training before opening a trucking company. This is already a very dangerous field. Incompetence can only cause horrible outcomes. Don't ignore safety. After this story, it is clear that safety measures are very important and they should be considered by both the company owners and the truck drivers. And drivers, don't rely on your employer only. Speak up. Refuse to drive with a damaged car. It's your life that's at stake here. With that being said, we want to mention that our channel is planning to post a lot of useful educational content related to the safety and MC owners, and even a course will become available with time. So, if you're a beginner in the trucking industry but are interested in fully joining it, then follow us and click the bell button to not miss any updates. Now, there is a question for you. Do you think Rogel Aguilera Mederos deserved the clemency he got? Write your answer in the comments, because I would love to find out what you think about this as well.
An appeal is now planned for the truck driver.
Or reduce the controversial sentence, which is now being reconsidered. Rogel Aguilera Mederos claims that his brakes failed in the 2019 pileup, but the jury found him guilty on 42 counts.
Drive safe. Have a good trip.